Good morning. This is a follow-up briefing to the preliminary briefing that we provided to you on Monday morning at the scene of the officer-involved shooting. I would like to remind everybody that this is still an active, ongoing investigation, and the information is still coming in. I'll provide you with a short summary of what we know today based on the preliminary information that was provided to me by the detectives working the case. The Albuquerque Police Department, the New Mexico State Police, the Bernalillo County Sheriff's Department, as well as the DA's office and the independent review officer are assisting in the investigation. I do have additional information for you. Just please, again, remember that it's an active, ongoing investigation. The forensic analysis of the evidence is still in progress as this investigation continues. On Monday, both the DA's office and the independent review officer were on scene of the officer-involved shooting. We have been able to confirm for you who the suspect is, Mary Hawks. Early in the morning on April the 21st at approximately 3 a.m., Mary Hawks was spotted driving a stolen Ford F-150 pickup truck. The pickup truck had been stolen and reported stolen by the owner on April the 10th of 2014. An officer spotted the vehicle at approximately 3 a.m. in the morning, and the officer ran the license plate. As the officer was running the license plate, the vehicle made a turn, and he lost sight of the vehicle. The officer then located the vehicle a short time later, abandoned. Inside the vehicle, he found personal belongings that belonged to the suspect, Mary Hawks. These items were found inside the stolen pickup truck. Based on the information that he recovered in the stolen pickup, he searched criminal databases, which provided him with a booking photograph of Mary Hawks, thus confirming for him and positively identifying her as the person he saw driving the stolen pickup truck. Using various criminal database history, the officer began checking for prior addresses, which led the officer to the area near the trailer park. An officer spotted her and attempted to speak with her when she ran into the trailer park. The officers established a perimeter around the trailer park, and the K-9 units arrived to conduct a search of the trailer park. Hawks fled the trailer park and ran to the area of Wyoming and Zuni, where Officer Jeremy Deere was located on the perimeter. Preliminary information is that Deere chased the suspect for a short distance. The preliminary investigation also indicates that Hawks produced a gun and pointed the handgun at Jeremy Deere. Officer Deere fired at the suspect, and the suspect did die at the scene. As I said earlier, it's important for us to let the investigation run its course. In any officer-involved shooting, on-scene supervisors and on-scene personnel provide preliminary information. At this time, we have no video of the shooting, as it has not been recovered from Officer Deere's on-body camera system. We have sent the system to the manufacturer for a technical and forensic analysis. Other videos were also recovered from the officers and are being reviewed by the detectives. The gun that was located next to the body of the suspect is a handgun very similar to this handgun right here. This The weapon was located next to her body. We have asked the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms to assist us in tracing the ownership of the weapon. As I stated earlier, we need to let this investigation run its course, and I'm here to answer any questions that you may have.
Chief, did Officer Deere activate his lapel camera, or did he not activate it?
As I stated earlier, we were not able to recover any video from Officer Deere's on-body camera system. So what we've done is we've sent it to the manufacturer so they can do a technical and forensic analysis.
Does that mean that he did or did not start it?
That's information we don't know. That's why we sent it to the experts to have them do a technical and forensic analysis of the on-body camera system.
What has Officer Deere said to that question? I'm sure he's been asked that.
There are still witnesses that still need to be interviewed, and hopefully we'll know more information as this investigation continues.
We've heard that Deere has a history of not turning on his lapel camera. How do we know this one malfunctioned, or what are you saying about that?
Well, what I'm saying is this, is that we were not able to recover any film or video from Officer Deere's on-body camera system. And since we weren't able to recover any, it's important for us to send it to the experts for their technical and forensic analysis.
What is the policy on turning on the lapel camera?
The policy of the department requires the officers to turn on their on-body camera system when making contact with the public.
What are the consequences for not turning it on? What does the policy say? Are there any consequences, or is it just a standalone policy that says they're required and no consequences?
I think what we need to do is we need to separate out, we have an officer-involved shooting, and we need to wait to find out exactly what those findings are from that officer-involved shooting. Then those findings are then forwarded to our Internal Affairs Division, who would then conduct an investigation. So therefore, I don't want to draw any conclusions on what will happen, because right now we're focused on the officer-involved shooting.
Well, theoretically, let's just take a step back. What are the consequences for any officer that doesn't turn on the lapel camera in the public? I'm going to be asked that question. I'd like you to actually answer.
There are consequences for not turning on the on-body camera system, which can include everything from a letter of reprimand to a suspension.
Was the gun loaded?
Again, the forensic analysis is still ongoing.
What kind of weapon was Hawks shot with? We were hearing maybe a .223 rifle.
I don't have that information right now. I don't.
How many shots were fired?
That, again, is still on the forensic side.
Is that common, if it were a .223 rifle, to see that kind of a weapon used in this, a close chase like this? Is that common?
At this time, I have no information that would indicate that a rifle was used in this officer-involved shooting. As I stated earlier, it's really important for me to get all the facts from our criminalistics people to make that proper conclusion.
How long will it take to get that back from the manufacturer, that forensic information?
Actually, will depend upon the manufacturer to provide us with that information. I think, we hope it will be soon, but we have absolutely no indication from them how long it will take them to get that information
Chief,
to
what
us.
kind of gun did Mary Hawks have? What was that?
It's a Davis Industries.
Caliber?
22?
It is a .32 caliber semi-automatic pistol.
Did other officers see Hawks with the gun in her hand and pointing it at Officer Deere?
As I stated earlier, we still have witnesses to be interviewed, so it's still an active, ongoing investigation.
Can you tell us if anybody besides Deere, just tell us if anybody else besides Deere actually saw the shooting take place?
I cannot answer that question because I don't have that information.
We've talked to you in press conferences before, right after officer-involved shootings, and clearly you've been able to tell us whether or not the gun's been loaded. What's the difference this time?
Again, the weapon has not been examined by the forensic analyst. I think the same resources that were at the officer-involved shooting were also conducting a homicide investigation yesterday. So those forensic resources were sent to that crime scene yesterday from the homicide.
When did officers first know that Hawks had a gun? Was it just when she turned and? or
I don't
did they-
have any information about that at this time.
When you say witnesses, when you have witnesses involved, are there just other officers? Are there other witnesses that were on scene that are being interviewed, or is it just officers?
We are still conducting neighborhood canvassing, as well as we still have other people that have not been scheduled for interviews,
Other officers?
other witnesses.
But are there any officers that you still have seen?
Yes.
Can you talk a little bit about Deere's history? We did a report last night involved in some, I don't know how you'd say it, but he's got a bit of a checkered past. How many times has he been investigated by internal affairs? What have those results been in those internal affairs investigations with Officer Deere?
Again, I think we have to separate out the officer-involved shooting and the information that will come over to internal affairs. And internal affairs will be a separate investigation based on the information that's been provided in the officer-involved
Just looking
shooting.
at his past, though, can you talk at all about his past?
I would not want to talk about his past at this time because that becomes a personnel issue.
How many times has he been investigated? You're not answering this question. How many times has he been investigated by internal affairs?
I do not have that information with me.
We had the early warning system as a troubled officer. We heard talks of him needing to get off the streets more or less. Can you talk about that at all with Officer Deere?
I can't speak specifically to Officer Deere, but I can speak to the fact that that's one of the important things when we talk about the reforms that are needed, the reforms that were spoken about in the DOJ findings. We are looking to improve our early intervention warning system, and that's still a work in progress.
Chief, has he been investigated by internal affairs? You said you couldn't comment on how many times, but has he been investigated by?
I don't have that information with me.
At other news conferences involving officer-involved shootings, if a handgun or a gun was recovered, you showed us a picture of the actual gun. Why are you showing us a model today?
Actually, I do have a photograph if that was something that you would like, but this is an exact replica which we happen to have in our storage at our crime lab. So this is almost the exact same weapon.
When was the last time footage couldn't have been recovered from a lapel camera?
I can't give you a specific date and or time, but we know that the technology is not 100% foolproof. Anytime you get into the technology realm, there are issues with the technology. It's similar to your cell phone. Your cell phone, you bought it, you never intended for it to have drop calls. You've never intended, or you thought you get all the text messages and those kinds of things. So the technology is good, but I think that's one of the reasons well, let me just back up. I know that's why we sent this off to the manufacturer, so they can make a determination for us in this officer-involved shooting.
Was that camera in fact on?
As I stated earlier, I cannot answer that question because we were not able to recover any video from his on-body camera system. So again, it's important for us to get the technical experts to be able to do that for us.
You had mentioned from preliminary evidence, as you had said, that there was an indication that Hawks had pointed a gun at this officer. Can you tell us, how do you know that? What's the preliminary evidence? Is that a statement off of Officer Deere, or is there something else? Can you tell us, how do you know Hawks pointed a gun at this officer?
Yeah, as I stated earlier, the detectives arrive and they speak with witnesses, law enforcement witnesses, as well as the supervisors. And they provide me with that information so I can brief the media.
Was it several? Go ahead.
Can you tell us where she was shot?
That report we have not received from the medical examiner.
One other thing, you said you had recovered video from some other officers' cameras. Does any of that video
I don't have the exact number, but we do know that we do have some video. We have not seen all the video, and that's still part of the preliminary investigation, is for them to, the detectives, to review all the information and then come up with a conclusions.
Were any other officers in the area or near Officer Deere when he shot Mary Hawks?
We know that other officers were in fact in the area.
And at close enough proximity where if they had their cameras turned on, it would have captured it?
Again, one of the things I have not been fully briefed on yet, because we're still in the preliminary phases, is the proximity of those officers at the time that the shooting occurred.
Are you calling this then a malfunction of the camera?
No, I'm not calling it a malfunction of the camera. What I'm saying is we have a device. I wear one. There's different types of devices, and there's different technology in the devices. So what I have to do is I have to depend on our analysts to look at it. And when there's ever a question about, is there a failure with the technology? The technology is different. So we send it back to the manufacturer and let them tell us exactly what happened.
Have you had to send any other videos from any other cameras related to this incident to the manufacturer to check out? Or is it only his that you guys send back?
Not related to this incident, but yes, in the past we have had to send the equipment back to the manufacturer to ask them to see if they can recover anything from the device.
But in this incident, there was only one video camera. Is it a lapel camera? Is that right?
It is an on-body camera.
On-body camera that you had to send to the manufacturer. Officer Deers was the only one you had to send back. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And how many other videos have you recovered from other officers?
I don't have that exact number yet.
And can you tell us how many witnesses told detectives that Mary Hawks pointed a gun at Officer Deere? Was it one? Was it two?
The detectives have not provided me with that information yet.
What is APD's policy on foot pursuits? And I know after the DOJ went into Las Vegas, they actually changed their policy on foot pursuits and stopped them altogether since so many were resulting in fatal officer-involved shootings. So twofold, what is APD's policy on foot pursuits? And would you consider maybe following Las Vegas's lead after their DOJ and not having foot pursuits anymore because of the number of...
What I'd like to do is if you want a copy of our policy, I'll provide that to you.
Okay, and would you consider something along the lines of what Las Vegas did and
Without knowing exactly what Las Vegas did, I wouldn't want to comment specifically about their policy.
What's the manufacturer of the lapel cameras used? What's the name of the manufacturer?
Actually, we have many manufacturers, and what I know is this, is that his on-body camera system, meaning Officer Deere's on-body camera system, was sent back to the manufacturer.
Which manufacturer was that?
Have you ever retrieved the video after you sent it to the manufacturer?
Yes.
Last question, please.
Well, actually, there's a lot of information that we're still trying to get. Who was the manufacturer? You don't know.
I don't know that. I don't.
And
I thought
this-
I thought he answered that.
This weapon was, I'm sorry, was not loaded or loaded? Is that?
I never said,
No, I'm asking. Was it loaded or not loaded?
I haven't been provided with that information yet.
You said Mary Hawks was in a mobile home park and...
A trailer park,
A
correct.
trailer park and got out of a perimeter that had been set up. What trailer park was that? Was that the one next to...
It was the trailer park located at the southwest corner of Zuni and Wyoming.
So it was the closest trailer park to where...
No.
It was...
That's not the Wyoming Terrace there? Is that the name of the local one?
I don't know the name. The trailer park,
I don't know.
yeah, the trailer park where the perimeter was set up was on the Zuni, Wyoming corner, opposite it's a vehicle repair location, and then across the street on Wyoming, there is a strip mall,
Okay.
and there was a restaurant on that corner. So the perimeter was set up at the trailer park located in the southwest corner of Wyoming and Zuni.
We had heard from a couple people down there yesterday that Hawks was pregnant. Do you know that at all?
I would not have that information.
Is this his first officer-involved
Let me check. Did we release that information yesterday?
We did not, sir, but we did confirm this is his first.
Okay, so, yeah, I guess we did confirm yesterday that it was his first officer-involved shooting.
Was he a troubled cop?
I came here to discuss this specific officer-involved shooting and the facts that I have as it relates to this officer-involved shooting. I just want to assure you that we will have a complete and thorough officer-involved shooting. We will also have a complete and thorough internal affairs investigation into this officer-involved shooting.
You can't comment whatsoever on Officer Deere's past.
I don't have the information to make a comment.
What can you say to folks who are, they're critics and doubters about how this thing went down? What can you say to them that you have an officer who shot someone in a situation and there's some questions that are not being answered, and basically a DOJ report has come out days before? What do you say to those folks who are saying, I talked to someone the other day and said, sure, she told it. I mean, I'm just quoting you what someone said. What do you say to those folks? That he didn't have a lapel, that you can't ignore the video.
I think what I can tell you is this, is that there was a weapon found next to her. I've provided for you a gun that is very close. It's the same manufacturer. It's the same caliber. I have a photograph of it at the crime scene. We will conduct a complete and thorough investigation. We will.
No, I understand, Chief. I'm just.
Yeah.
We're trying to write stories here, and we're not, there are a lot of questions we've asked, we don't have information. As in how many witnesses have actually told detectives that she actually, pointed a gun. We don't know if that's one, if that's Officer Deere and several other officers.
And I think that's a reasonable question to ask. Right now, I don't have a precise number and or answer for you because, as I said, we still have people to interview. And it's important for us to interview those people. And yesterday, the homicide that occurred in Albuquerque took some of those investigative resources away from the officer-involved shooting. And as a result, we have not been able to interview all the witnesses.
Was Mary Hawks facing the officer when she was shot, or was her back turned?
I do not have the information at that time from the OMI.
Thank you all for coming. We appreciate it.
Have you gotten any indication on anything like that?
We can get you the photograph. Yeah.
And any, time frame of when the perimeter was set up around the trailer cars and when it was staged, it was 3 a.m. when you initially spotted her.
I don't have the exact time, but I can get you that time.
Will the feds look at this?
Actually, yesterday, we did notify the Department of Justice, Office of Civil Rights Division, that we did have an officer-involved shooting, and we will be providing to them the information as it pertains to this officer-involved shooting.
You'll voluntarily give them that information?
Definitely, yes. Thank you.
It's my understanding they're gonna have more information in the days to come, so if you have additional questions, we'll have additional answers as the investigation is ongoing.
Can you send out the policy to the media distribution list?
I'm sorry?
Can you send out the policy on the health media distribution list? And that would be very
And
helpful.
also on foot pursuits. Okay,
Yes,
thank you.
thank you.
Yep. Let me write this down before I forget.